The most noteworthy interview I did was with Miles Davis.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that
wondered
interview,
about
that interview has been reformatted dozens and dozens of times.
People take from that all the time.
And that happened because of my friend Tommy LaPuma.
Oh, is that right?
It's like exactly what we're talking about. Tommy opened doors for me like I've opened doors for other people.
Right.
And Tommy has been a friend of mine, was a friend of mine from the early 70s. And when I was doing a radio show and interviewing people,
Right.
I said to Tommy, do you think there's any chance I can talk to Miles? Tommy said, sure, no problem.
So you asked.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It's Billy. Make him say no, right?
Make him say no.
What's the worst that can happen?
They say no. Sure.
They say no.
Yeah.
But they said yes.
And what he said is, Miles is great. You know, Miles gets a bad rap. People say Miles is tough. He's not tough. He just doesn't like bullshit. And if you come at him, with bullshit, you won't last a second. He said, but you're not going to have any problem. Sure, no problem. And it was fantastic, man. I went out to Miles's house in Malibu with Tommy. Tommy came out there with me.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tommy's in tow.
And I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story, but then there's a kicker. So we go out there, we knock on the door. Door opens, there's Miles, man. And Miles, his skin was like burnished. He was a little guy, and he had no fat on him. And his skin was burnished, and I had this impression that it was burnished from all the attention he had gotten from other people staring
It was like
at
polished.
Yeah.
Polished.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he gave Tommy a hug, and then he gave me a hug. And then he said, come on in.
Really?
Yeah. And then he made lunch. He cooked lunch. He took us through his house. And then at one point, a couple hours into it, he said, so you want to interview me, huh? I said, yeah, Miles, I do. He said, okay, man, let's go. And we sat down and we talked, and it was just sweet. It was sweet. There was no... It was what Tommy said. If you just show up and be yourself, that was the message of Miles. But here's the kicker I want to tell you. On the way home from Miles's house in Malibu,
Right.
we stopped at Pat Raines' house,
I
who
know
lived
Pat,
down the street. And we sat there, and Pat was on the phone with Dave Sanborn, and Dave Sanborn needed a keyboard player. And I got on the phone with David that same night, and I said, I know your keyboard player, man. His name is Ricky Peterson. I know who your keyboard player is.
That was the same night as the
Miles interview.
I never knew that.
Yeah. It was coming back from Miles's house. We stopped at Pat's place. And I don't know, a month later, Ricky was playing with David.
God, that's unbelievable.